Today, we'll dive into the incredible tale of a mysterious little girl who, hiding among the shelves, stole food from a small neighborhood grocery store. But instead of confronting her, Evelyn, the store owner, decided to follow her quietly, gripped by curiosity and a gut feeling she couldn't explain. The path Evelyn took would reveal much more than just a simple theft. Prepare to be moved by what she discovered. In Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, lived a 42-year-old woman named Evelyn Cook, a woman with a serene gaze and a warm smile, carrying the pride of a lifetime dedicated to hard work. Evelyn and her husband Oliver shared a dream that kept them united, to build a grocery store that would become the heart of the neighborhood. Back then, the district buzzed with the energy of people filling the streets, and the mornings were full of the hustle and bustle of customers and the fresh smell of products that stocked the shelves. In the early years, Evelyn and Oliver dedicated themselves tirelessly to the store, facing challenges but always side by side. She remembered when they were just starting out, the days when Oliver would climb ladders to hang hand-painted signs, and on his way down, give her that smile of someone who believed in the future. With their lifetime savings, they managed to open the store's doors. It was such an intense achievement that to them, it wasn't just a business, but a home where every customer was welcomed like an old friend. Evelyn's store became more than just a shopping spot. To the community, it was a cozy place where, any day, a conversation could easily linger. Evelyn fondly recalled customers like Mrs. Moore, who always came to buy fresh vegetables and, while choosing each one, shared stories from her youth, or young Charlie, who stopped by every Friday after school to buy sweets. With every smile and every story shared, Evelyn felt she was part of people's lives, that the grocery store was a place where friendships bloomed and everyone belonged. She cherished memories of many of these moments. In winter, kids would come bundled in hats and scarves, and the store seemed like a lively village. Evelyn and Oliver would even decorate the grocery store with colored lights at Christmas, brightening the neighborhood with cheer and hope. Their pride wasn't just in the store's financial success, but in the impact it had on people's lives. To them, it was something unique, the fruit of work that connected more than just products and customers. Over time, though, Evelyn noticed her surroundings starting to change, and with it, business at the grocery store began to shift. What was once a vibrant, lively store full of stories began to grow quiet. The lively sounds that once filled the space were now replaced by the echo of Evelyn's footsteps down the aisles. The decline in customers was so gradual that, at first, it almost seemed temporary. She told herself it was just a phase, one of those ups and downs any business goes through. But as the months passed, reality grew harsher. The neighborhood that had once been full of families and smiling children now seemed deserted. Many neighbors began moving out, leaving their homes empty, and with them, the memories Evelyn held dear. Familiar faces that once entered her store smiling became increasingly rare. Even Mrs. Moore, who always stopped by for vegetables and a chat, stopped coming, and Evelyn learned she had moved to live with her daughter in another city. Charlie, the boy who loved sweets, didn't show up anymore either. His family's hardships had led him to study elsewhere. It was as if each absence took a piece of the store's soul. Evelyn tried to keep her hope alive, but as much as she wanted to believe things would turn around, she felt a growing sadness deep in her chest. She still woke up early, prepared the store with the same care, and made sure each shelf was organized and ready, just like in the old days. She turned on the lights carefully, and the doorbell chimed with each opening, inviting people to come in. But in reality, the door barely moved, and Evelyn was often alone with her memories, arranging products that might never sell. With sales plummeting, Evelyn and Oliver began to feel the financial impact, but she didn't let herself fall into despair. Even watching her world fade, Evelyn continued to believe in a new beginning. Her gaze still held a resilient hope, something that no one could take away, and she constantly reminded herself, "This will pass. Everything will get better." One quiet afternoon, while Evelyn was busy rearranging products on a shelf, she noticed something unusual out of the corner of her eye. A little girl crouched in the bread aisle, moved carefully with cautious motions, as if trying to disappear among the shelves. Evelyn paused for a moment, intrigued, as she watched from a distance. The girl, wearing simple clothes and with messy hair, seemed nervous, her eyes darting around as if she feared being seen. Evelyn noticed her reaching out with her thin, delicate hands to grab a loaf of bread, pressing it against her chest and glancing around to make sure no one was watching. There was something in the expression of that child that unexpectedly touched Evelyn. Instead of reprimanding her, Evelyn immediately felt a mix of curiosity and concern. The hesitation in the child's movements revealed a deep insecurity, and Evelyn wondered what could be driving someone so young to commit such an act. She didn't look like a thief. She looked like a girl in need, someone who, for some unknown reason, had no other choice. As she watched from afar, Evelyn noticed the girl clinging to the loaf of bread, as if that simple food held immeasurable value. It was as if she needed it more than anything else in the world. Evelyn's heart ached, imagining what the child might be going through. Every move seemed to reflect a silent urgency, a cry for help echoing in the store's quiet. The girl, thinking she was unnoticed, slipped to the exit, still with a tense gaze and hunched shoulders, as if she carried a secret too heavy for her small frame. Evelyn didn't stop her. She let her go, but a sense of restlessness lingered that she couldn't ignore. In the following days, Evelyn began to notice that the presence of that mysterious girl wasn't a one-time event. She appeared around the same time, stealthy as a shadow, almost invisible to others but not to Evelyn, who now paid attention to every move. The girl seemed to have crafted a careful plan. She entered silently, quickly and precisely, moving through the aisles, and without wasting time, grabbed essentials: a pack of cookies, a can of beans, a piece of cheese. Each item she hid in her small bag seemed purposeful. These weren't random products. They were real food, the basics, as if she were caring for someone. Evelyn watched the scene with a mix of fascination and discomfort. There was something about that quiet routine, something that disturbed her but also sparked an uncontrollable curiosity. The girl never took more than she could carry, never took anything unnecessary or expensive. She left with the same cautious look, heading out with quick steps, always in the same direction. Evelyn was intrigued, trying to guess where she might be going, who might be waiting for her. She wondered if perhaps the girl was caring for someone who couldn't feed themselves. With each visit, Evelyn felt the mystery deepen. That child became more of a puzzle, a small piece that Evelyn couldn't quite fit. In her mind, the situation evolved from simple, petty thefts into something much deeper. She began to feel she needed to understand what was happening with this girl. After days of observing the girl's furtive routine, Evelyn made a decision. She felt it was time to make contact. There was something inside her that said she needed to intervene, to understand what was happening, and, more importantly, to offer help. Evelyn decided to approach the girl gently without startling her, with just kindness and a welcoming smile. That day, the girl was back in the food aisle, clutching a can of soup and a pack of cookies. Evelyn approached slowly, like someone approaching a small bird to avoid scaring it. When she was close enough, Evelyn bent down slightly until she was at the girl's eye level. With a warm smile, she said in a soft tone, "Hi. I've noticed you've been coming here a lot. I'm Evelyn." The girl gave a slight start at the sound of her voice, her face showing a mixture of surprise and shame. She held the food even tighter, as if fearing it would be taken away, and cast Evelyn a wary look. For a moment, it seemed she would run away, but Evelyn kept her expression calm, trying to convey security. Are you going to get me in trouble?" The girl stammered, her voice trembling, her large eyes pleading. The fragility in her expression broke Evelyn's heart. It was as if behind that fear, there was a far heavier burden, something that no child should have to carry alone. I just took a little food. It's for an emergency," she murmured, still embarrassed, her shoulders hunched and her gaze unsteady. Evelyn tilted her head slightly and replied, "No, dear. You're not in trouble. I just wanted to know your name and understand what's happening. Maybe I can help." The girl hesitated, looked at Evelyn as if trying to decipher what lay behind that kind face. Finally, in a barely audible voice, she said her name and, unable to hold back her tears, whispered, "I'm sorry. I just don't know what else to do." Moved by emotion, Evelyn reached out and placed a comforting hand on the girl's shoulder. She knew that what she would discover from then on might be difficult, but she was ready to listen to every word that child had to share. Seeing the girl's face marked by shame and fear, Evelyn knew that any harsh word would only increase the barrier between them. In a soft, understanding tone, she assured the girl that she was there to help, not to judge her. "You can take what you need, dear. Don't worry about me," Evelyn said in a gentle whisper. The girl, surprised by the response, lowered her eyes, still holding the food tightly to her chest. The tension in her body began to ease, and Evelyn could see that, slowly, she was gaining her trust. It was as if, in that moment, the girl had found unexpected relief. She took a deep breath, releasing the weight of the words she had been holding inside. Evelyn, noticing the anxious look and hesitation in the girl's eyes, knew there was a story there, something that went beyond the act of stealing food. The girl seemed relieved but still carried a shadow in her gaze, something Evelyn couldn't fully decipher. She bent down to the girl's level once again and in a calm, reassuring tone said, "I won't stop you, but I need to understand what's happening, why you come here every week. Maybe I can really help you." The girl bit her lip, looking at the floor, as if struggling with the words, as if she wanted to say something but feared that her confessions would be too heavy for an outsider. Evelyn's promise seemed to break a piece of the invisible wall the girl had built around herself. She finally looked her in the eyes and, in a low voice, said, "I come because, well, it's to help my family. We don't have enough food and I'm the only one who can go out and get something." The words came out hesitantly, but Evelyn could feel the depth of despair in that small voice. Evelyn nodded, her heart heavy, silently promising herself that this child would no longer go through this alone. With a smile, she reinforced her promise. "All right, take what you need today, and if you need more, come back and take it. We'll figure this out." Evelyn was determined to help her, and at the same time, to understand the story hiding behind those tired, fearful eyes. She knew that this promise was only the beginning of something bigger, something she was willing to uncover, no matter how painful it might be. The next day, when the girl returned to the store, Evelyn had already made a decision. She needed to understand what was behind those furtive visits, the desperation and need she so clearly saw in the girl. With a quick nod to her employee, she asked him to take care of the store for a while, and without the girl noticing, slipped out the door, keeping a safe distance. She watched the small figure move away, her steps light and cautious, as if she carried a precious secret that needed guarding at all costs. The girl walked through familiar streets but soon entered a narrow, poorly lit alley, a path Evelyn didn't recall ever walking down. The scenery around her changed as she went, and the neighborhood, once familiar and welcoming, began to reveal its darker side. Evelyn kept going, staying silent, careful not to attract attention. The journey seemed endless, each corner revealing new fragments of the girl's reality. After a few minutes, Evelyn noticed the girl turning a corner and heading down an alley that led to a more isolated part of town. The path was cold and desolate, without neighbors or any movement besides her and the girl ahead. Evelyn felt a pang of sadness, imagining that this little child, instead of playing or studying, was facing the harshness of such a journey, alone and bearing a burden no child should have to carry. Finally, after a long stretch, the girl stopped in front of a simple house, worn down by time. Evelyn hid behind a nearby fence, watching as the girl looked around before entering. The house's facade looked abandoned, but Evelyn knew that place held the answers to her questions. Her heart tightened, and curiosity now mingled with a sense of urgency. Evelyn felt that the truth couldn't wait any longer. The place seemed to stand by sheer will, held up only by a trace of structure and very little care. Watching from afar, Evelyn felt a pang in her chest, imagining that this modest, desolate house might be the home where the girl sought shelter. The contrast between the child and the environment was shocking. She's so small and delicate, in the place so dark and abandoned, as if each detail of that space carried a sad and forgotten story. The girl approached the door with quick steps, casting glances to the sides in an almost automatic movement. Evelyn took a few steps forward, driven by the urgency of finally understanding what was happening. But before she could call out to the girl or try to reach her, the door closed suddenly with a thud that echoed in the quiet street. It was as if that door wasn't just closing access to the house, but also isolating a part of reality to which Evelyn still had no permission to enter. The door, firm and locked, seemed an insurmountable barrier. Evelyn stopped, took a deep breath, feeling a mix of frustration and compassion. She didn't want to scare the girl, but needed to talk to her, to understand what was happening behind that humble facade. Knocking lightly, she called out in a soft voice, almost like speaking to a friend. "It's me, Evelyn. Is everything all right? I just wanted to talk, to see if you need anything." Silence. Only the gentle breeze that blew around them, as if the whole world were holding its breath around that scene. Evelyn stood there motionless, waiting for some sign of life from inside the house. She knew she couldn't force her way in, but she also didn't want to leave. She felt that the child, though silent, was waiting for help, even if she couldn't bring herself to ask. Standing before the closed door, Evelyn felt the weight of the loneliness hanging in that house. She knew that inside, the girl and whoever else was with her could hear, but they remained silent, as if fear kept them locked away, protected by that worn-out wooden barrier. She knocked again, this time more firmly but still gently. She needed them to understand that she was there to help, not to bring trouble. In a soft but firm enough voice to carry through the air, Evelyn spoke. "Dear, it's me, Evelyn. I know you're in there, and I just want to talk. I'm not here to hurt anyone or to call the police. I just want to see how I can help. You and whoever's with you don't need to be afraid." Inside, the silence persisted, but Evelyn felt her message was being heard. Somehow she sensed that the girl was there, listening to every word, though hesitant to open the door. She continued with an even softer tone, "I know you've been taking food for days and that you need it. That's all I want to understand. I just want you to know you're not alone." Evelyn pressed her hand against the door, a symbolic gesture of closeness. "Dear, sometimes we need help, and it's okay to accept that. You and anyone else in there can trust me. I promise I won't tell anyone. I just want to understand the situation and see how I can support you." The cold afternoon wind blew around Evelyn, but she stood firm, waiting for a response. The tension in the air felt almost tangible. Finally, from the other side of the door, a faint creak indicated that someone was approaching. With a soft noise, the door opened slightly, just enough for the curious, frightened eyes of the girl to appear. She looked at Evelyn with an expression full of uncertainty, but there was also a spark of hope. "You promise you won't hurt us?" the girl murmured, her voice weak. Evelyn nodded, smiling gently. "I promise, dear. I just want to understand how I can help." And with those words, Evelyn took the first step into that hidden world, determined to do whatever she could. The door creaked open, and Evelyn stepped into the small, dark space that the girl called home. The air inside was thick and damp, with the smell of mold clinging to the peeling, time-stained walls. The little light that came through the fogged window barely illuminated the room, casting shadows that made the place feel even more oppressive. Evelyn felt her heart ache at the sight of the reality that child faced daily. In front of her, the girl stood, still hesitant, with a look full of sadness and worry, as if she bore the weight of responsibilities far greater than any child should carry. Beside her, sitting on a thin, worn mattress, was a boy, appearing to be a bit younger. He looked at her with big, scared eyes, holding a thin blanket to his chest. Both were visibly thin, with pale faces and deep circles under their eyes, hinting at sleepless nights. Evelyn looked around, taking in every detail of that unlikely refuge. A small dog with short, scruffy fur lay beside the boy, almost motionless, with tired, sad eyes. It was clear that the animal, like the children, hadn't had proper care in a long time. The dog's weak breathing and the way he kept his eyes half closed indicated he was sick and frail, but he still seemed to try to offer some companionship and comfort to the siblings. The room was desolate. There was an old, scratched table with a few dirty dishes piled up, and a single light bulb hung from the ceiling, but it was off, maybe not even working. A piece of stale bread and a handful of withered fruit were on the table, which Evelyn realized was the only food available. The scarcity in every inch of that house broke her heart. It was hard to believe that these two children, so fragile and needy, were living in such poor conditions, without an adult to care for and protect them. The girl, noticing Evelyn's compassionate gaze, lowered her head, perhaps ashamed to reveal her reality. In a barely audible voice, she murmured, "I tried to take care of everything, but sometimes it's not enough." Evelyn moved closer and placed a hand on the girl's shoulder, offering some warmth and comfort. "You don't have to do this alone, dear. I'm here now, and I promise we'll find a way." Evelyn knew this was just the beginning of what needed to be done, but she was determined to offer the help those children so desperately needed. Feeling the comfort of Evelyn's presence, the girl began to open her heart, as if she couldn't bear the weight of her burden alone any longer. With teary eyes, she took a deep breath, trying to hold back her tears, but emotion overcame her. Finally, her voice emerged, low and trembling, as the words came out filled with pain and exhaustion. "My name is Clue," she said, holding Evelyn's hand with a delicate grip, almost like a silent plea not to be left alone. "This is my little brother Noah," she continued, pointing to the boy who watched Evelyn with a mix of curiosity and sadness. Clue paused as if trying to find the strength to go on. "And this is Max," she said, with a slight smile as she looked at the frail dog, the only friend left to them in that desolate home. Clue's voice grew hoarse as she began to tell her story. "My mother, she had to leave, leaving us in my care, promising she'd return soon. But it's been so long, and I don't know what to do anymore." She hesitated, trying to hold back her tears, but as she saw Evelyn's understanding gaze, the tears finally fell, each one carrying the weight of a stolen childhood. Clue explained that since her mother's absence, she had taken on the responsibility of caring for her brother and Max, doing everything she could to find food and protect them both. Her days were filled with this constant struggle, balancing survival and keeping Noah safe in a home crumbling around them. "I thought I could manage. I tried everything so Noah wouldn't go hungry. That's why I started taking food from your store. I didn't want to steal. I just don't know how to do this alone." With her heart aching, Evelyn wiped away a tear that had rolled down Clue's cheek. The depth of this girl's despair and courage was overwhelming. Clue, so young, carrying the burden of keeping her family together, looking after a little brother and a dog, all without the support of an adult. "Clue," said Evelyn, her voice trembling with tenderness, "you are incredibly brave, but no one should go through this alone." Upon hearing these words, Clue seemed to relax a little, as if, for a fleeting moment, the burden had been lifted from her shoulders. Evelyn knew that her presence was a glimmer of hope, a promise that from that moment forward, Clue, Noah, and Max would no longer have to face everything on their own. Clue's words echoed in Evelyn's mind as she tried to absorb the weight of her story, feeling her heart clench with each detail. Seeing the girl so fragile yet so strong, Evelyn was filled with a deep pain and empathy that touched every fiber of her being. She imagined the desperation of a mother who, left without options, had to place her children in the care of her eldest daughter. She imagined Clue's daily fight, a child forced to grow up too soon, facing hunger and fear with a determination Evelyn had never seen before. Clue's tears, still streaming down her face, seemed to break down any walls Evelyn might have had. In that moment, she knew she couldn't simply offer food. What Clue, Noah, and little Max needed was much more than immediate sustenance. They needed care, security, someone who could help lift the weight Clue had been carrying alone. She felt responsible, in a way, for those three. She couldn't imagine returning to her own life and leaving them there, left to chance, without a support network, without a real home. Gently, Evelyn pulled Clue into a hug. The girl, hesitant at first, finally gave in and let herself be embraced. It was as if the warmth of that hug broke through a dam of pent-up feelings, and Clue began to sob softly, clinging to Evelyn as though she were holding onto an anchor in the middle of a storm. Little Noah, watching in silence, took a step closer, also finding comfort in this caring presence that had appeared to rescue them from their loneliness. With tears in her own eyes, Evelyn knew she couldn't let this child bear this weight alone. From that moment on, everything changed. She would do whatever it took to help Clue, Noah, and Max find a safe home, a life where they could live as children and not as survivors. The decision was made. Evelyn would be the help they so desperately needed, the hand Clue hadn't asked for but now couldn't do without. The intensity of the bond Evelyn felt with Clue and her brother Noah was something that surprised her. In just a few moments, these children, so fragile and needy, had already carved a deep place in her heart. Every glance, every word, every gesture showed that Clue was a courageous child, a girl who, despite everything, held on to keep her brother and Max safe. Feeling the weight of it all, Evelyn understood that her pain and empathy needed to become something more, a concrete action. She knelt beside Clue and Noah, looking directly into the girl's eyes, who now saw her as someone she could trust, a safe presence amidst the chaos. "I'm going to help you," said Evelyn, with a voice full of warmth and resolve. "From now on, you won't be alone. You don't have to worry about where to get food or who will be here to take care of you. I'll be here every day for whatever you need." Clue seemed to want to believe, but still struggled to understand what it truly meant to accept help. Evelyn noticed her hesitation and with a calm smile added, "I'm not here just to bring food, Clue. I'm here to be a friend, to walk alongside you, to offer support. From today on, you have someone by your side." These words carried a commitment that went far beyond the moment. Evelyn knew she would need patience and understanding to build this relationship, to prove to Clue that she no longer needed to bear the burden alone. In the days that followed, Evelyn began visiting the small house regularly, bringing food, clothes, and above all, her company and friendship. The transformation that began there was not only for Clue and Noah, it was also for Evelyn. As she saw hope rekindling in the siblings' eyes, she found within herself a new purpose, a way to heal her own pains and fill the emptiness she hadn't realized she carried. Clue and Noah became a part of Evelyn's life, and together they embarked on a new chapter, one in which love, friendship, and trust would turn an abandoned home into a place of comfort and possibility. With a strengthened bond and a clear decision in her heart, Evelyn knew her commitment to Clue, Noah, and Max couldn't be just a promise between them. It needed something more solid, a plan that would give the children a real chance for a future. Evelyn then decided to do something she never imagined: mobilize the community, involving those who, like her, wanted to help but perhaps didn't know where to start. It was time to restore hope to those children who had lost it so long ago. On a sunny morning, Evelyn began visiting the homes of neighbors and longtime friends, openly sharing Clue, Noah, and Max's story. She narrated every detail with the same care with which she remembered the days when the neighborhood was a vibrant, united place. Many residents were moved, impacted by Clue's strength and courage, and didn't hesitate to offer help. Some families provided food and clothing, others offered financial support for urgent expenses, and some even suggested contributing to the renovation of the small house where Clue and Noah lived, transforming it into a safe and welcoming place. With the community's support, Evelyn could provide much more than material goods. She organized a support network, ensuring that Clue and Noah not only had their basic needs met, but also opportunities that would help them grow, dream, and live as children should. The local school got involved, and soon Clue and Noah received their first lessons, eager to learn and reconnect with a world full of possibilities. Even Max, their loyal companion, received veterinary care, returning to bark and play like a healthy dog. Every day, Evelyn saw hope blossom in Clue and Noah's eyes. The girl's smile, once rare and shy, now appeared more often, a reflection of the safety and care she found around her. Noah, once so withdrawn, began playing with other children in the neighborhood, rediscovering the joy he hadn't known for so long. For her part, Evelyn felt a renewal in her own life. The promise to give them a better future was no longer just an idea, but a reality, built with each act of generosity, each hug, and each shared laugh. Evelyn had not only restored Clue and Noah's hope, but also her own and that of the community, united in transforming lives and rediscovering the power of togetherness. Did you enjoy this story? Then share it. Help spread this emotion to more people and inspire someone special with this message. Just click to share and pass along this impressive story.